It has been a long time since I have been on this screen. Happy Tuesday, my favorite day of the week. You guys who are watching and always avidly support know that I love Tuesdays. I missed you. I missed you. I missed being here, people. It's been so long. But a reminder, as always, that we are here for a purpose. So if you or anyone you know is dealing with any form of domestic violence, could be a friend, a family member, or a foe, please reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You can also dial the Philadelphia Domestic Violence Hotline number at 1-866-723-3014. And remember, at any time, if you are in imminent danger, please dial 911. Remember that the person on the other line is trained to aid with you, whatever is going on in that instant. You can ask for a pizza and they'll know how to support you in that moment. I'm super excited because I always say this. When I come on here, I come on with people sometimes that I don't know, people that I do know, people that I've known for a year or 2 years. The guest that I am bringing on today is someone that I've known forever, people. She knew me when I was ugly. For real. I was goofy looking back then. She knew me when I was in high school and probably way before that. So I have known Melissa forever. I think that she's an amazing woman and her story surprised me, right? Everybody has a story. Everybody shocks you. But when you know someone for so long and you have these pictures in your mind, you never in your mind believe that someone you know has dealt with this form of domestic violence. But that is why we are here and we continue to educate our community, because so many of us in our community have dealt with it, whether firsthand with our families, whether ourselves, we have dealt with it, or they've dealt with it through friendships. So we're going to bring Melissa Cruz on, and I'm not going to tell you who she is because I think it's better for her to explain who she is. Hola.
Hi. Thanks
for having me tonight, mujer.
¿Cómo está?
How you feeling?
Good. A little nervous, but hey, here we go.
Everybody's always nervous, but listen, it's a regular conversation. Who cares that there's people watching?
Yeah.
So, listen, first question. So people who are watching know who you are. Tell us who Melissa is today.
Melissa is a loudmouth. She is an advocate for all things unjust. I'm a crybaby. I cry over commercials. I am a daughter, a mother, a wife, a friend, a nurse. And yeah, I'm healing and growing.
Awesome. So for people who are watching, I get oftentimes questions asked, how do you find your guests? Where do your guests come from? Do you know them? Like, where do you get them from? So surprising enough, Melissa had reached out to me maybe more than a year ago, right? A long time ago. So this has been in motion for a very long time. We took a very long break from our show, much needed. We needed to make sure that we worked on our own, issues at home and business and life and everything else. So we're back. And I decided if we're going to come back, let's bring her back. Let's tell her story, because oftentimes we talk in the first person. We talk as Christina was abused, this person was abused, and that person. And I think that tonight's subject matter is super important because there's a lot of people out there who say that they stay in relationships for their kids. They stay in a lot of abusive relationships because they think that their kids deserve a mother and a father. And they don't realize the effects that happen on them from them experiencing these different things. So it's super important for us to be here tonight. When you reflect back on your childhood, what are the earliest moments that shaped your understanding of relationships and safety?
So before we get into that, a little quick disclaimer, because a lot of my friends were confused because my stepfather has been in my life for over, I want to say 37 years. So when they heard of me doing this podcast, they were like, wait a minute, I've never seen him be that kind of person. And I'm just like, it's not my dad, which is what I refer to, as my stepfather. We're talking about my biological father. So I just wanted to put that out there because my stepdad is the best. But what was your question again? Sorry.
When you reflect back on your childhood, what are the earliest moments that shaped your understanding of relationships and safety?
Well, for me, I never felt unsafe. Let me just start there. I think the relationship of the abuse in the home was within my parents, right? But I never felt unsafe. My mom always made sure that we were safe. And I've never, even though I witnessed it, I've never felt unsafe around my father. But I felt unsafe for her. I felt like she wasn't safe. But I didn't fully understand the dynamic of that then. So yeah, I've never felt unsafe, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. So, she went through the abuse, and kind of like what was kind of in your mind as unsafe was really her and what she was dealing with. And abuse,
right.
you, you never really felt like it was you that was unsafe. Like your dad wasn't coming for you. Is that what you're saying?
No,
It
yeah,
felt
no,
like the abuse was kind of like moved over to you. It was just
right,
her primarily.
right.
And mom made you feel safe, which is
Yes,
important.
yes. And even dad, like even my father did. I never felt like I wasn't safe around him, or whatever was happening with him would escalate into anything serious. I mean, that was serious, but like
Yeah,
back
yeah,
then I was too young to understand like that can lead to her dying. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So kind of just looking back, what did domestic look like for you as a kid? What was it in your eyes? Because I'm sure they didn't term it that back then, right? You just were experiencing it. You were a young child. What was your experience like, and what did it look like for you?
My mom just having a voice. I mean, that from what I recall from that abuse, it wasn't anything that happened during the day or like at a dinner table or in a party. It was always a night thing. My dad wouldn't come home for days,
Mhm.
and he would come and my mom would be waiting for him, start an argument, and it happened. Or he had company over that it got too loud. She would say something like, hey, the kids are sleeping, and it would escalate to that. And so it just felt secluded, quiet, because I don't recall it ever happening in front of like outdoors or in front of family. Not that I recall.
Mhm.
Um, so that abuse just, to me, it appeared like if my mom could just not say anything when he comes home,
Yeah, yeah.
nothing would happen, you know?
So were there moments when you were growing up that made you realize this is not normal or something's really wrong? Were there like key things that you remember that you were like, wait, okay, something's wrong?
Yeah, I remember one instance where my dad had company over and the music was really loud. I remember it was a school night because I remember her saying that to him. And I remember the commotion downstairs, and I run downstairs, and my mom's running up the stairs, and she sits down, and she's holding her ear. I don't
Mhm.
know if he busted her eardrum or what, but she's asking me to grab medicine out of the cabinet. She's like, "Bring me the pills, bring me the pills." At that point, I took it as maybe she wants medicine for the pain,
Mhm.
but I think in my head, I'm thinking, wait, that I don't think that's what she wants it for.
Mhm.
Um, and I think right there, it's when it first hit me, like, wow, this is serious. Like,
Mhm.
it was the first time my mom ever included me into that world of what that violence looked like. Before then, it was just something that they did behind closed doors. But that was the first time, and there were others that followed, but that was the first time that she asked me for something, or she brought me into that. Yeah,
You felt a part of it.
right.
So as a child, right, you have siblings. I know you have siblings.
Yes, I am the oldest of 12.
You're the oldest. So
Yeah.
I know sometimes when we think back to moments like this, I know for myself, my father was not physically abusive to my mother at all. But he was a big drinker. He was huge alcoholic.
Mhm.
And there were moments where things would happen. Police were called. It got really bad in the household. Never with my mom. He never put his hands on my mother, but it
Mhm.
still was a very violent night because of the alcohol. And I remember distinctly that my oldest sister became kind of like the mother. There was like a very big shift because I was the baby. So it
Mhm.
was always making sure I was okay and I was protected. So were there moments when you were growing up and all of these instances were happening where you felt like you had to take on the protector role?
Absolutely. From very young, and I'm talking about like 4 or 5. I remember that I would always scan the environment before I went to bed. And I had my own bedroom because at the time I was the only girl and it was only my 2 brothers. But I always slept in their room, and I would always scan the room, making sure like where the shoes were, a bag was. My youngest brother was really small. So like any bottles laying around, because that was always my role.
Yeah.
Like just get up and grab bags, and mom would be like, it's 3 in the morning and it's snowing, but we're leaving.
Mhm.
Got a kid, I got a kid, bottle, bag, that was my role. And even growing up, they would joke around like I would be, even now, like I'm the
Mhm.
bossy or the mom, but that's just a role I took on. In every relationship, even with friendships, I'm just always been the mom of the group. And
Yeah.
it's not something that we choose, right? It's just something that we learn.
Yeah. So it sounds like you, a lot of times you were in like fight or flight mode. Like you scanning the room, you already, it's that, first of all, you already had plans in your head. You're like, I'm looking for bags around, I'm looking for
At like
shoes.
5 or 6, yeah.
which is crazy, right? Because when you are in this type of setting, right? Everybody knows this organization is built because I personally was abused. When you're going through that, the person who's going through the abuse normally is the person that does that. We're looking to make sure a bag is packed, we're making sure that keys are close to the door and things like that because we're making our exit plan. But you're saying that even as a kid, you were in fight and flight mode. It was like, all right, let me make sure there's a bag there. Let me make sure this is taken care of because you yourself had that in your mind.
Yeah. I didn't sleep much at night, just waiting to see what it would be like when my dad got home, if he got home, because sometimes he would be gone for days. And so I knew if my dad didn't come home that night, I already knew what was coming in the next couple of days when he did come home. Or if he came home with friends, I already knew what my anxiety was. Just, I didn't know what it was then, but I knew I wasn't sleeping because I had to look out for my siblings and my mom,
Yeah. Wow. I think I said this to you when we first talked about this on the phone, how shocked I guess I was because I know who your mom is. I remember her very distinctly. She's beautiful. Like she always looked so, it's exactly what we say about people who go through domestic violence. You never know because when you see them, they just, shine if they're that type of person. Your mother's always been beautiful, always been so friendly, so kind to everyone. So it was so shocking to me that she went through such a terrible time, but it also speaks volumes of her that she no longer was in that situation, that she left that situation and that it's in her past because of who she is.
But my mom was and still is like a little pit bull. So I growing up, I used to wonder, like, and even now when I process things with my husband, I'm like, I had to battle with if I was angry at her just as much as I was angry at my dad. And not because she stayed, but because a lot of the fights were like just her opening her mouth, right? Now as a woman, I'm like, now as an adult woman, I'm like, even with my daughter, I'm like, no, you voice it, you open it, you talk, you speak.
Yeah.
But growing up, I remember thinking like, a lot of those things could have been avoided because my dad wasn't the type of abuser that would just walk in and begin, from what I can remember, right? I can't say that he wasn't, but from what I can recall, just walk in and start beating just because it was always, she had to say something, right? Or you didn't come home, or you didn't leave money, or you didn't do groceries, or you left for a couple days, or women, whatever the case, it's what I remember. May not be true, but it's what I remember, right? Yeah. And I remember having that issue with, man, if only she would stay quiet, but I'm grateful that she didn't. Because I turned out to be the woman I am, where I'm just not quiet about anything.
Taught you a lot of lessons with her strength.
Yes.
Which is a lot of our parents and a lot of Latina women. We grew who we are because of that. Like I said, my dad never physically beat on my mother, but she made sure that she took care of us and got us out of certain situations when it got violent. Never on her, but just throwing things around the house and just speaking loudly and scaring us, and police and breaking things. Witnessing her has made me who I am as a person. So I totally resonate with what you're saying. How do you think witnessing that abuse affected your sense of self, like trust, your emotions? Like, how do you think witnessing that back then has formed you into like the wife and the parent that you are now?
Super aware. I also think that my husband really carried like the biggest back end of that. It's the healthiest relationship I've had. And so just trusting, that it doesn't always look that way. And I think just witnessing his relationship with my daughter has been the biggest healing for me, because it's exactly what that relationship should look like. Also witnessing the relationship of my stepfather and my sister. I mean, he was great to all of us, right? But when he came in the picture, I was still young. So I was really mean to him at first. If my mom's in the chat, which she said she would be, she can tell you, like, when he first came in the picture, I was still under 10. I would pack his clothes all the time and leave it downstairs. Like and he was always great. Yeah. He still is phenomenal. But just having another man in the house was just like, nah, we're not doing this again, sir. You got to go. But just witnessing that relationship has been, healing for me.
I remember him. I remember both of them really well. So that's why the same thing as all the people that are asking you, I was like, wait, what? Because I remember him. He always was very kind.
Not Jose Luis. Like, no, not him.
Not him, people. Not
him, people.
What kinds of invisible wounds do you think if you think them, you may not, but what kind of wounds do you think you carry from then till now? Are there like still things that you're upset about? Are there things that maybe trigger you? Because it could trigger you even as someone who's affected, even though it wasn't directly you.
Just having a daughter, raising a daughter, man, this, just her now, she's going to be 21 soon. Um, now that she's an adult, like just not being able to protect her, keep her bubbled like I used to, right? And I feel like raising her initially, I had to catch myself a lot of the times because I would be like, somebody raised their hand at you, man, you gut them like a fish. Like I was always like on this violent mode, right?
Yeah.
And then that had to change, where instead of raising her to be that way, is more like you were loved better than that.
Yeah.
If you're ever in that situation, remember that you were loved better than that, and just raising her, like just knowing her value and staying away from those relationships.
Yeah.
Just solely based on how well she was loved, and just that reminder of who you are, opposed to like challenge those things and show them who you are. Yeah.
Were there coping mechanisms back then that you now realize are like survival techniques? Like things you didn't realize you did, and now you're like, damn, I did that to make sure we were okay, but you just did them como na.
Behaving like an adult when I was still a child. I think people would compliment my mom all the time on how mature I was. And even growing up, like, oh my God, you're so mature. And I remember my aunt and my uncle had a medical transport company, and I was running the whole company by like the age of 12, like doing all their billing and doing all their collections. And I was always praised as this kid, like, she's so mature, she's vigilant, but that wasn't by choice. That was definitely a mechanism of just having to grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's funny you say that. And I see it more by you saying it, which is funny. A lot of people feel the same about Alina. A lot of people since Alina was small have always said, she's so mature and she, is more like an adult. And even she's 18 now, but when she was like 13, 14, I take her places and they'd be like,
yeah,
she speaks like a grown woman. And we've had conversations now that she's older, now that, she's able to just say anything to me, right? She can express herself freely because she's 18. She has said that to me. She says that oftentimes she feels like she couldn't be a kid because she was so worried about me. She had to act like an adult. She had to think kind of like all the same things you are. She had to think of, if something happens to her, what can I do? So she says it to her boyfriend all the time too. Like he says, oh, but you think way older than I do. You're always, worrying about things that you shouldn't worry about. And she's like, well, I never really could be a kid. I always had to worry about things. My mom was a single mom. I was always worried about her. So yeah, definitely. Have you had conversations before this show even came about, right? Because we decided we were, and I kept thinking about your mom every time I was posting it. I'm like, I wonder if her mom knows. So obviously she knows she's watching. But did you guys, prior to us doing this, have you and your mom ever had conversations about your past and like what your feelings about that time are, like, and express things with one another?
We've talked about it, but I don't think we've ever sat and talked like what it did to me, or we've definitely talked about things I remembered and what it was like back then. I think one thing I really appreciate about my mom and why I still have a really good relationship with my biological father now, she never just took the blame herself or blamed him. She never hid the truth of what it was, even when I was younger. But I don't think we've ever had the conversation of what that was like for me back then.
So
I did a really good job at
masking.
Yeah.
So what was her thoughts when you first told her that you would be here today?
Man, honestly, I didn't tell her till like 2 days ago. I know. And it was like in a group chat with my siblings and my mom. And I just sent them the flyer and I kind of explained what it was. And then I went to the whole bit like, please don't bash my dad on here and talk or bring any of that stuff up. And she's like, listen, I'm going to tune in. I'm going to listen and I'm going to just, hear. But I don't think they're oblivious to any of it. Clearly, we've talked about it before. But I just explained to them, it's not to share your story or my dad's story or why all that came to be.
Right.
It's really just to share, from my perspective, which is my truth. No one has to agree with that.
Yeah.
But I didn't talk to my father about it. Yeah, things are a little rocky right now. So I was afraid to do this in the past, which is why it never happened before.
Yeah.
Because I'm always so protective of like his feelings. But yeah, this has nothing to do with him. So
No, absolutely. And you said it right. It's your story, and nobody can tell you exactly what you felt in that instant. And I just had this conversation with someone the other day about that. People can say, like, I was terrified when I started this organization. It's been 7 years now, and I've never had confirmation that my abuser knows that I do this, but I'm pretty certain he does. It's been 7 years.
right.
But that's how I felt at the beginning. Like every time I did a show, I was terrified I would get a phone call. So I would like block his number.
Yeah.
And if I did things out in public, I was looking who's in the room type of thing.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, as the years went on and I continued to do this and I saw the impact that it was doing and I saw the different women that we were relocating and different things, I continued to remind myself, this isn't about him. It's not him anymore. Hi, Evelise. It's not about him. It's not about his feelings. It's about me and my truths. No one can tell me what I felt during that time. This is what I am. And I've had plenty of times where we're on here and we're talking and I don't bash him because even though him and I do not have a relationship, he's still my daughter's father. I'm not going to sit and have discussions about him that may hurt my daughter.
Right.
So, I talk about me and what my experiences are.
Right.
So, totally understand how you feel on that point. How about your siblings? What were any of their thoughts? Did any of them have any opinions on you doing this? Not one.
No, I mean, they thank God that Monica she wasn't even born at the time. He got incarcerated with like a few months after she was born, so she has no recollection. Nothing. They thanked me for being a protector when they were younger, and nothing, just share my truth, and that's that.
So you said that you were 4 or 5. So how long did this, like, until what age do you think you experienced this?
My dad got incarcerated when I was, I think, like 7, and so that's how it ended. Because he went to jail for a very long time.
Okay. Yeah. So during that time, so 4, 5-ish, 6, 7, you kind of were like kindergarten, things like that. Were there any teachers, family members, friends, people that you can recollect? I know that was a long time ago. You're an adult now, but is there anyone specific that you can remember that maybe was like kind of supportive during that time, or did people not know?
My whole family knew.
Okay.
And I think that's why all of us were raised like so grounded and not affected by all that so much, because my mother was never like blacklisted from the family. They were always supportive. If she called 5 days a week to get us picked up or drop groceries or do whatever, they were there. There was never a judgment zone when it came to my family. Yes, did they encourage her to leave and provided housing? It was never I don't know why my mom didn't leave, right? But it was never because of not having support. My family was aware. Were they aware of, I don't recall ever having a conversation with anyone like, how does that affect you? Or are you seeing this? Or I don't recall those conversations having place, but our family loved us well. And so the support was always there. Yeah.
Okay. Was there a specific moment when things changed for you and your mom, and what helped that transition? So I guess the specific moment would probably be when he was incarcerated. So when he became incarcerated, right, that kind of like obviously stopped it. What did that feel like? Do you remember like what it felt like when it was like, okay, now he's away? Like, was it like a weight lifted off your shoulder? Like, what did that feel like? And do you remember kind of like what your mother seemed like? Did she look like, I can breathe now type thing?
Well, it was confusing because my dad, when he was good, he was great.
Yeah.
And like I said, we never felt unsafe. He spoiled me tremendously, right? And I felt loved by him. And so it was confusing at that time to know like, this is love and this is abuse and this shouldn't happen. The only reason why I know that was wrong is because I would see my mom cry. And clearly I wasn't hit as a child that young, so it's not like I understood the gravity of that, but I knew that it was wrong because she would cry, right? And even when he got incarcerated, I was still sad because I still wanted my parents together. It's not like I have tons of memory of abuse. So I definitely remember good times more than that, right? But even when he got incarcerated, like we would still go visit him and stuff like that. And so I still had hope that he would turn himself around and become a better person, and that my mom would somehow not fight with him anymore. I felt like she was poking the bear then, you know? And so I still had hope. But I'm super grateful that it didn't turn out that way, and that they stayed separated, and she met my stepfather, and yeah.
Have you ever talked to him about it?
My dad's in denial. He is none of that existed, and the things that he do recollect, he doesn't take ownership for. It's always that happened, but you know, there's always a but, and I've learned that you can't apologize with a comma, you know, with a but. And so my mom, like I said earlier, has always taken ownership of her wrongdoing, of staying, the things that she could have done differently. Whereas my father, he's so like he's always on the defense. It's always someone else. He's never taken accountability for anything. And so I feel like I've healed so much from that. And the reason why I say we have a good relationship is because I feel like I don't need an apology from my father. I don't need to have that conversation with him. I'm past that.
Yeah.
And so it's just a conversation that I don't need for us to move forward, because just the type of person that he is, it's just not going to take accountability for anything in life. And I've come to accept that, not as a form of apology, but just it's never going to happen. Yeah. And he's never going to take accountability for it.
I have to cough.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're live. You got to cough all right. We're almost at the 30 mark. But before we get there, I'm going to ask one more question, and then we'll do what we normally do. As an adult now, how has the environment that environment shaped the way that you approach relationships and boundaries today?
I'm super vigilant. But I can say, like, I've healed enough where you would think I wouldn't like trust people, but I am trustworthy. Like I'm not. It hasn't scarred me to the point where I'm like I'm scared, but I am super vigilant of people and interactions, and I'm always scanning the room. I'm always the mama bear in every situation, and I'm a burden carrier too. Like when people go through things, I carry it very heavily. So yeah, but I'm just a vigilant person. But I do trust. It's not a thing where I'm not trusting people.
Good. All right. Well, I'm going to do this early because we're already at that point, and you know, why not? Let's do it now. If you or anyone you know is dealing with any form of domestic violence and you just got us today and you just joined us, remember that we are here for a purpose. You can dial the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Remember that if you're in imminent danger, do not call that number. Dial 911. You can ask for a pizza, and the person on the other end is taught well to do what they have to do. They are trained. So just call, say I need a pizza, and they'll start asking you questions that'll get them there. Believe me, it works. So as we're sitting here, I'm reminding myself you have a son. Yes. You have a son. Besides your husband and your daughter, you have a son. Mm-hmm. And as we grow as parents, as we grow, you know, in circumstances like this, it takes impacts in ways that we don't realize, right? So for me, and I think you said the same thing for our children, we're super overprotective of the girls to make sure that they're not in relationships that are not suiting them, that are not healthy for them. Raising a boy, though, and not even just through your mom's example, but just in the world that we're in, how is it that you feel this circumstance or this situation has shaped how you're raising him to be a man? Because, you know, boys are a lot different than girls are. You know, they start to date and, you know, boys are a lot more dominant and things like that. Do you think that those experiences and seeing them and knowing them have changed how you raise your son?
Definitely. I think raising him, there was always, and until now that he's 22, just that conversation of like this is wrong and this is right. And not just in the sense of him becoming an abuser, but also being in a relationship where it's abusive towards him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just learning those red flags early on of just removing yourself from situations, friendships, relationships, just teaching him those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And definitely a couple of threats in there, like your mom and your dad. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Your brother said that he loves you. He wrote a message. So we are at the half point. So I have more questions for you, but there's a question from someone in the audience, Melissa Morales, who I remember as well. She says, do you know if your dad went through any abuse or mental diagnosis?
Never a diagnosis, but abuse definitely. My dad was severely abused, and all of his siblings. He was raised by a step family as well, stepfather and mother. He wasn't raised by his parents. So severely abused, mentally, emotionally, physically, you name it. Yeah, definitely.
So knowing these things about him, oftentimes when we look at kind of like the psychological look to all of this, the aspect and the mental health aspect, oftentimes my daughter's father was badly abused by his father. He was raped, he was molested. His mother was a really, really bad 24 hours a day alcoholic. And I think that part of that is what made me forgive him. It wasn't easy, obviously, but forgiving him was something I had to do for me because I didn't want to carry that darkness throughout my entire life. So I forgave him a long time ago. But knowing that what you know about your father, knowing that he dealt with some form of abuse and kind of thinking back, do you think that some of that is what allowed you to kind of still have a relationship with him now that you're older? Because like you said, it's better. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I minored in psychology and I'm a nurse, so I studied this a lot. And I think part of me even becoming a nurse is just that child in me who always helped people, right? That's just my mode. But definitely has helped me understand and forgive without him. It's almost like forgiving someone who never asked for an apology, right? I kind of get it because I know everything that he went through as a kid. Even growing up, my dad was the drummer boy at his dad's church, who happened to be the pastor who abused all of his children. And my mother attended that church. So that's how they met very early on. And so people who meet my dad, he's great to everyone else. You know, he's the person who gives his shirt off his back. I just think in the 80s, there was so much drugs and money and women. And so he just entered this lifestyle of where he had it all when he was raised without having anything. And I think life just got bigger than him.
Yeah.
And so I just think it was a combination of all of that. And I think because my mom never hid the fact of the lifestyle or what it was back then, it was easy for me to understand. Not to make excuses for him, right? But it was easy to understand how the bigger picture of how that came to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You getting love here, so here's your brother, so you see it. Duli Crespo says, Melly, I have always admired you, and now I admire you even more.
Oh, thank you.
Melissa says, it's all he knew. I'm sorry I never knew.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of our stories. People just don't know. They see such an accomplished woman, they see an educated woman, and it never kind of pops into your brain that this could have ever been an experience. So I know that you work at a school. I know that you're a school nurse. Have you ever had instances of like kids who've come in and kind of you just already know, like something is wrong with them. Something could be going on because we're both educators. I've been in education for 22 years and I can tell when kids come into my office, especially when I've been a counselor for so long, they come into my office, they have conversations. You're the school nurse. Sometimes they come in and there's bruises and things like that. Have you ever had any of those experiences where you just like know that there's probably something that this kid is probably facing at home?
Yeah, I'm always looking for like that kid who reflect me. When I see a kid that comes in and they're hurt, and I see even a younger sibling or older sibling, like just like that motherly role, it's always like a little alert for me. Those kids who are just super sometimes can be quiet or very advocating for things, or just even with a behavior. Well, you're in education, just certain aggressions. You're like,
Yeah.
I'm super vigilant with those kids. That's why I'm so grateful for the role that I have, because I can see a lot of me in those kids.
Yeah,
But I've
absolutely.
never picked up on some, yeah.
Yeah. You have more here. You have another. I love my sister Melissa from Ronaldo Santiago. Ana Maria Rodriguez, she is from Congreso's domestic violence program. She says, thank you for sharing your story and such courage. You have a question on Instagram.
Mhm.
It's come, I don't know who this is, but it says Mrs. Princess. I can't see your picture, so I don't know who it is. It says, do you think anyone that was raised in an abusive household is an excuse or a true mental issue that never gets talked about because most people say this sister is the way my parents were? I'm not sure what that means. She said typo. People say this is how my parents were. Want me to read it again? Let me read that for you again.
Yeah.
It says, do you think anyone that was raised in an abusive household is an excuse or a true mental issue that never gets talked about because most people say this is how my parents were?
Yeah. So I get what she's saying. When they're talking about people's behavior, do we make excuses for them, or is it like a mental health? I think it could be both.
Mhm.
I think in my household, it was never an excuse.
Mhm.
Like I said, my mom was always very transparent.
Mhm.
And I was a nosy kid. And so I listened to a lot of adult conversation. Um, and so, yeah, it was never an excuse. Did my father need therapy? Absolutely. My mom probably did too. I think everyone in the 80s did.
For real.
I think all of us do,
Yeah.
but yeah, definitely. It was never an excuse. Nothing was ever excused in my house. My mom always spoke to me real.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's good. What does healing look like for you now? And are there still things that you're unlearning from that experience?
Healing is never ending. I think it's a journey. I don't think it's something that we ever fully, well, for me, I don't think there's ever like 100% healing. I think there's always something that triggers you, or something that's a reminder.
Mhm.
It's always like constant. I remember last year, I'm super big on Christmas. Anyone who knows that I am like, yeah, super huge on Christmas, like the shopping and the lights. And I'm always telling my husband, like, we have to finish shopping by this date because I need to do Christmas activities. Like, I'm super big on Christmas. And last year I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine. And I was driving in the car with my husband, and I think we were driving like through lights, and I just start bawling. Mind you, at that point I'm 45,
Mhm.
and I'm just like unconsolably crying. And he's like, what's the matter? And I'm like, man, just the lights and the feeling of Christmas is so nostalgic. But after 45 years, it hits me why Christmas is so big to me. And I'm like, I don't recall a fight between my parents during Christmas. I don't recall abuse. I'm not saying it didn't happen, right? But I don't have any recollection. I just remember Christmas being family, because my family's huge.
Mhm.
I remember gatherings. I remember just love, right? But
Mhm.
what I remember most that just got me so emotional was, it was the one time where I felt like a kid and I didn't have to be an adult.
Yeah.
I felt like everyone in my life behaved. My mom, my dad, everyone was chill from what I remember, right?
Mhm.
And so I just remember, like, my mom made Christmas really big too. So I just remember family and love and peace. And I think that's why, well, I know that's why Christmas is so important to me now. I didn't know it until last year, why it was so big. I'm not yeah, it's just, it's a moment of peace in my childhood.
I
And so
love that.
it brings that inner healing child. And that happened last year when I was 45. So
Mhm.
I feel like healing happens at every,
Yeah.
point of our life.
Yeah. I love that. I love that answer. I do. And I've known you forever, but we're not people who see each other often. And
Right.
just by your social media, I know you love Christmas.
Yeah.
Every year that I've watched your social media, I'm like, she is serious about Christmas.
Yeah. But you know what? Like it's not just about like shopping and stuff. I like to do like I gather my family a lot during the holidays
Yeah.
for like pizza night and gingerbread making and gatherings with my friends. And it's just, for those who know. But now those who are tuned in really know.
Yeah.
Just Christmas is different for me for that reason. It's just a piece of me that is healed, like from childhood to now,
Yeah. Your whole family is in here, girl. Your brother put up a question. Your sister Monica's here. Everybody's here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. I remember everybody. Your brother asked you a question. I think you answered, but you can answer it again. He asked two questions. I'll give you the first one. How do you think your childhood shaped who you are today?
Man, in a lot of ways, it shaped me to be mean at times with people who didn't deserve it, only because I was always waiting for like that shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And for someone to show me their colors. It shaped me to be aggressive at some point. Like I said, my husband probably felt the worst of it. Early on in our relationship, he would say I would break up with him a lot. And not that he's perfect, right? But he's great. But I also remember people saying that my dad was great, and that didn't end up well, And so I was always waiting for that. But it also showed me that we do get to create the life that we want.
Yeah.
And that there is healing, and that there is hope, and that, everything we do in life is choice. And so I'm not saying that we can all stop those things from happening, but we can choose to stop it.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I think I'm a strong person because of it.
I was just waiting. There's the other one. David's there too. So you have, Lewis has another question for you, but Monica said, yes, you do. I'm sure she's replying to your Christmas.
Yeah.
Your brother David said, thanks for everything. We love you way past forever. I love that. Janet left you a big message, but I'm going to go back up to Lewis's question, and then I'll go back down to her comment. His question is, what's something you wish people understood about you?
I can be a little intense at times. I just love hard. Yeah, I just love deep. And I think if it wasn't because like how much love we felt by our family, those could have been some really dark times.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, family is super important to me because of that.
Awesome. Janet says, I'm so proud of you for breaking the cycle with your own family. DV is a cycle until someone as yourself takes a stand against it and not carry the cycle into the family you created. Proud of you.
Oh, love you.
Rosalie says, not Rosalie. I'm so Spanish. Sorry, Rosalie. I say
it right.
Rosalie says, proud of your strength and the purpose you walk in. Thank you. There is another question here by Ana Maria. She said, how did you realize you had to break the cycle?
So when I was in high school, I dated someone for 4 years, and everyone thought like that was the it couple, right? And things were great. And I remember like one time we were outside, it was a group of people, and Morales was out there with us. I don't know if you remember because it was quite swiftly, but back then, booming cars and the systems was a thing, and we were all standing in the corner, and there was a car that passed by, and just out of reflex, I just happened to turn, and my family never knew the story, Jesus Christ. Back then, I just happened to look to the side with the rest of the crowd to see whose car was driving by, and he smacked me behind my leg. And there was no flags of like, he was the calmest person ever. Mm-hmm. But that right there triggered something inside of me. It wasn't fear, but it was an instinct of like, man, if I end up down this road, I'm gonna end up in jail, because I always had that mentality in my head, like I need to avenge my mom, mm-hmm. and if this ever happens to me, like we're not gonna be in that situation. We're gonna fight, and I'm gonna hurt somebody, and I'm gonna end up in jail. But right there, I just made that decision, like, wow, we're not even gonna entertain mm-hmm. even feeling that. And that 4-year relationship was over. No conversation, no nothing. It was just ghost. And he wondered why. And there was no explanation. It was just mad love. But mm-hmm. just that feeling I felt in that moment wasn't even fear. or even the thought of, man, here we go in this cycle, or what could it be? But it was that fear of, man, if we were behind closed doors, I could have killed him, just out of that anger of like, what?
Yeah.
And I broke it then. Not the fighting, not the dealing with it. I decided then this can't be. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to jail.
Yeah, I get it. I had those moments.
Right. That's what that was.
Oh, what do you wish more people understood about children living in abusive homes?
That the signs can be different, that they're carrying a silent weight, an invincible weight, that they could be mature. They're just carrying things that they're blaming themselves over things that they didn't do, and they're trying to create a peace in chaos that they didn't create.
So I had said opening up the show that this was important for me tonight because there's so many women who stay in relationships because they think that it's better for the kids to see two parents. Thinking back to your past now, think that have you ever wished, like, I wish my mom would have left sooner? Like, forget that he went to jail. You would have left. You wish that she just would have left on her own. Is that something that you think of now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I mean, why people stay,
everybody's different.
Yeah, we will never understand, right? But yeah, I definitely wish you would have left sooner. It would have definitely saved me from a lot of sleepless nights, and even now I suffer from severe anxiety, and it is only triggered at night, and it's just I don't sleep well at night still, and even though I live a very peaceful life, to me chaos happens at night.
Yeah,
so that's a thing for me when I go to sleep, because it's just like, oh my God, it's nighttime. It's gotten better because I learned to silence my phone at night, because the text messages or the notifications just makes me super anxious. Just always waiting for bad news, and not because there's anything chaotic in my life, right? But it's just, for me, I associate night with bad things happening at night, and it's something that I tell myself, like, man, it's been over 30 years. Like, girl, get out of it, snap out of it. But it's just certain things that you just can't get out of. That people are like, oh, I suffer from insomnia. Yeah, sure, we can call it that.
Yeah, definitely. There's always triggers. And I did a show a long time ago, maybe like 2 years ago, with someone else. And they asked me that, once you feel healed from domestic violence, do you not have triggers ever again? And I'm like, no, not at all. I have triggers constantly. For me, the sound of loud noises, the sound of something smacking or a door hard, the way someone touches me, everything.
Right.
So yeah. So Janet says she loves you more. Your brother says you're stronger than you know, and he has another question for you. What helps you feel safe now?
That I'm somewhat in control. That I chose the right partner. That I feel loved by the people around me, so I'm not afraid to disconnect from things that doesn't make me feel safe. I know that for myself.
I love that. How can communities better support children and survivors who are still in those situations?
Oh my God, believe the children, and don't judge. I feel like a lot of women probably don't seek help. Again, I don't know their reasons, but I feel like one of them could be like judgment. And I'm so glad that my family, which was our village, never judged my mom the 20,000 times that she went back.
Yeah.
When she did, and they were always there to pick up whatever pieces and help her. And I think that's what true community should look like. Like, people just get tired of helping the same person with the same story, but I feel like until they're not ready, it's not going to happen. And just, when you're going to offer someone support, like, give it fully, and just don't give up on them, and don't get tired of giving that support, because we're hopeful, right, that the cycle will break someday. But just support them, like, on and on and on. It's a ever never ending, what feels like a never ending cycle.
Mhm. Janet put a great question in there, and I've been asked this a bunch of times, so I absolutely want to hear what your answer is. She said, "What would you tell your younger self?"
That things are gonna be okay. That life gets better. You're not to blame for that. There's nothing that you did to create that.
Yeah.
And that someday you get to build a life that is peace
Mhm.
and love, and you get to redefine what love is. Love isn't that. I felt like love was that back then.
Yeah.
But you get to redefine that.
Absolutely. I love that answer. That's a great answer. For someone listening who may be a child or someone younger, could be a teenager who is in a similar situation in their homes, what's something that you want them to hear?
Again, that is not their fault, and that you probably haven't met the person that you feel like you can trust, but they're there. Whether it's a teacher, whether it's a counselor, whether it's your neighbor. For me, it was my neighbor. My God, Diana. I wish I remember her last name, because I would so love to find her on social media. But even though you're witnessing domestic violence, it's also happening. You're not just witnessing it, you're living it. It's happening to you. And that is some form of abuse as a child, to have to witness that. For me as an adult, I think so. And so find someone that you can trust, and ask for that help that maybe your mom is afraid to ask for.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. There is a comment here by Miss Evelise Pagan. She's one of our Survivor Award winners for our upcoming gala. Shameless plug. Evelise says, "Amen. People are so judgmental, especially family, especially Latino families. Someone has to break the cycle and change the narrative for how things have been done for so long in our culture and our families."
Mm-hmm.
So listen, when you're having good conversation, time flies, and it's about that time.
Oh,
I want to thank you for being brave and coming on. Oftentimes, this is a conversation that not many people want to have, especially when people see us in a certain light. They see us on a day-to-day basis, and they see, like, Nurse Cruz, they see Miss Vega in school. And, these are not conversations that we publicly at times want to talk about, especially domestic violence. It's so taboo in our communities. But I appreciate you for being here, because I think that, like I say all the time, domestic violence is not something that we should normalize as abuse, but we should normalize the conversation.
absolutely.
Because too many times we don't have that conversation, and then people like myself who were going through that abuse during that time are too afraid to speak because it's so taboo. So I appreciate you, especially from the standpoint.
Thank you for having me.
No, absolutely. And I love that you, Ray said he sees Doña Vega. That's a shame. But especially for giving us this standpoint, right? Because like I said, oftentimes when we're on here with people who were firsthand victims, who have dealt with it. But I think we don't talk enough about the children who kind of witness it and experience it. So I do appreciate you for reaching out to me and for being here. I think that you have absolutely grown into an amazing woman, and you've done a lot for yourself. You were never bad back then, but you've accomplished so much, and your mother, I know, is super proud of you. I know your siblings are proud of you, and I'm super happy that you were here with us today. Your brother says happy holidays. He loves you.
Oh,
I'm getting watery. I'm a crybaby.
I was ready, because I'm the person that cries over the same commercial 20 times in a day. Like, I'm such a crybaby. But
if you watch my show often, I cry all the time.
Me too.
Your sister Monica says she loves you too.
I love you.
So I'm going to do what we discussed. It's your time to shine. It is the closing moment for your final thought. I'm going to leave you be here by yourself. I'm going to go to the back, so I'll come out as soon as you're done. Like I said before, it could be as short or as long as you'd like, but share a thought, an opinion, anything that you want, and I'll be back to join you on screen.
All right. So my final thought is, I've never experienced domestic violence myself personally, right? But that doesn't mean that I didn't live through it. And I feel like children can be sometimes ignored because, I don't know, parents probably think that they won't remember it, but we surely do remember it. And I don't know if I'm reaching anyone, right? But I really hope that if I reach one, that's enough. And no judgment. I don't know why you're staying. But but I hope that you do have a village that you feel loved by, whether it's friends, coworkers, family member. And when you find yourself in that situation, remind yourself that you were loved better than that, that you deserve better than that you are worthy of living a life that's full of peace, love, joy. There's so much more to love, to life. And regardless of why the abuse is happening, don't make excuses. That is never a reason to take place in the first place, right? That never equals love. Abuse in any form is not love, and abuse is just not physical. It's mentally, it's emotional. And if you have children, which is why I'm here today, it doesn't happen just to you. You may be the one getting physically hurt, but they're the ones that is going to carry that emotional hurt forever. And so you alone are worthy to stop the abuse. But if you can't see that for whatever reason, and you have children, do it for them. A home that is full of chaos, emotional abuse, physical abuse, any type of abuse, it's not healthy, not for you, but especially for the children. I luckily, things turned out different for me because my mom never stopped being a good mom, even through that, right? But we also had a great support system in our family. And so that has shaped me into the person that I am today. But for so many kids, that's not the story. They don't have that outside support, or people who are aware, or that village, right? So things can turn out different for them. They can become victims in the future. They can become the abuser in the future. They can not know the difference between love and abuse, and just so much hurt and confusion. So I'm speaking to all those who have children. Again, you yourself are worthy enough to want to stop the abuse, right? Because you are worth so much more than abuse. You are worthy of love, respect, kindness, and life is hard enough without adding that, right? But you're worthy of all good things, regardless of what your past looked like. You're worthy of that. But your children do not ask to be in that situation. They're not better off with two parents in the home who don't reflect love. Do parents argue? Yeah. Do they not get along at times? Yeah. But that type of abuse is never acceptable. And so think of yourself, which is enough, but think of your children and everything that they see that you may not think that they don't see or they don't hear, they do. And those are seeds that are planted into them, right? That can shape them in the future. So if you want to stop and break generational curses, it starts with you. Don't pass that torch on to your kid, to see what they do with that. Break it. If you're listening and if you're live, whether you're in it right now or you were in it or you see yourself getting in it, take a step back. You're worth it. They're worth it. And stop the cycle. So that is my advice to you all. Happy holidays. Yeah. And that's it. Love and peace.
That's right. Love, love, love.
That's it.
That was the part. Espérate.
No, this is not a us thing. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. I love that. Your message was, I was in the background like, yes. But thank you for being here tonight. I'm going to give my final thought, but don't go anywhere. Go to the back because you're not allowed to leave this screen, because even when it goes off, people, I got to tell her so she doesn't hang up. We got to do a selfie so you can't hang up. You can't.
Got it.
Stay there, but I'm going to bring you back on so that we can say goodbye together, but I'm going to give my final thought.
Got it.
Alrighty. Good evening, folks. Thank you so much for being here, for being a part of this evening. You know that I absolutely love this and I missed it so much. I love being able to share the screen with different people and hear so many differences of opinions and just experiences from people. I appreciate everyone who was in the chat, people who are watching, people who shared it, people on Instagram, YouTube. I see all of you. I see your comments and I see your support. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love doing this and I love sharing this because I think it's absolutely important for us to see and hear the different experiences. Oftentimes we think domestic violence is so harsh to talk about. And why do you continue to talk about it? We talk about it for this right here. Tonight's episode was such a great example of what we can do if we use our voices. We can use our voices over and over again. I say this, we are powerful. Our voices can help so many people. So for all of you that are watching, thank you so much for being here with us. We are in the midst of gala time, people. If you are watching, know that our gala is February 21st, 2026, and we are super excited. We will be celebrating all of those women who are now survivors. We are also remembering and honoring the memory of Andrea Glaze. Please come out and join us. If you haven't got your tickets, you can go over to Zeffy and get your tickets. Join us for a memorable evening. We will be here next Tuesday with a surprise guest. I am so excited that she is coming. She is a surprise guest, and it's going to be a great night and a great conversation. Listen, my hint to you is she looks exactly like me. It's going to be a good time. So come and join us next Tuesday, where we'll be here at 7 p.m. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to bring her back so we can say goodbye together. Mi amor, you're still getting love over here. Everybody, you have Joyce says, love you, amiguita. Jaira says, thank you, ladies. Melissa loved the message. Iris, that's your mother. You're beautiful.
It is my mama. Mwah, mwah.
Thank you, Melly. Love you to the moon and back. Oh my God. Iris, you're still gorgeous. I remember you. But have a good night, everyone. Melissa, don't go nowhere. We got to take a selfie.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Have a good night, everyone. I'll see you next
night,
week.
everyone. Thanks for tuning
Remember,
in.
with the girl that looks just like me, you can figure that out. I'll see you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Happy holidays, everybody.
Bye.